Hey, it's Walt here. So I was reading the newspaper the other day and I came across a book title that stopped me dead in my tracks. The title of the book was In Praise of Wasting Time by an MIT professor by the name of Alan Lightman. And I looked at the title and I was horrified. It was like, in praise of wasting time? Who does that? That's crazy. There is no time to waste. But being rather intrigued, I downloaded a sample onto my Kindle and began to read In Praise of Wasting Time. And I was immediately captivated by the power of the lessons. And the lessons are all around how critically important it is for all of us to get away from the constant stimulation that we're all bombarded with in order to tap into that deeper part of ourselves. You know, if you think back to when you were growing up, certainly the case for me, we wasted a lot of time. You know, for me, I would go to the river and fish with some buddies. I'd hike in the woods. I'd explore, climb trees, read, get on a bicycle and ride to nowhere. There were hours and hours and hours where we simply wasted time. And in that time, we were creative. We thought, we imagined, we explored, we opened up our horizons to what was possible. And as we move into our adult lives, we get more scheduled and more harried and more crazy, and all of our time ends up having to be accounted for, wasting nothing. I remember years ago, I was in charge of training young attorneys, young associates at a big law firm. And one Friday afternoon, one of my charges came in and he sat down and there were tears in his eyes. And I said, "So, Greg, what's wrong?" And he said, "Walt, there was a time when on Saturday mornings, I used to love just to get my car out and wash my car. And it was such an enjoyable experience for me. It was so pleasurable. I found so much joy in just washing my car." And I said, "Well, what's happened?" And he said, "Well, the billable hour, we have to bill time and that time when I'm washing my car isn't billable." And it's fascinating, as lawyers, so often we value ourselves in 6-minute increments. And I suspect that the value may not be in the 6-minute increments. I suspect that the value may be in wasted time, in wasting time. If you think about where you get your best ideas, it's not usually when you're in the thick of it. It's in the shower. It's when you're outside. It's when you're on a long run. The ideas flow. And oftentimes when we're trying to wrestle things to the ground, we just can't do it. But when we step back, the things fall into place. The problems get solved. The tumblers fall and we have that moment of aha. But we don't do that enough for ourselves. We don't waste time prodigiously. And I think that's the challenge, is not always to be scheduled, not always to be in our emails and on our smartphones and surfing the web, but to give ourselves permission to step back, to open up space, to connect again with that deeper part of ourselves, that creative part of ourselves, that imaginative part of ourselves, so that we can come back and do the important work that we do in the world, refreshed and renewed and reinvigorated. Now, I've got a pretty busy day, so I've got to really stop this blog now and get back to seeing clients and doing work. But I'm taking this pretty seriously, this idea of wasted time, in praise of wasting time. And I invite you to think about the same. Make it a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. Talk soon.